Do you want to hear something fascinatingly a load of rubbish? Total crap. This is it, folks. It is a load of crap. It's a conspiracy theory. We went online and we found some information on it, and it's total rubbish. It is a conspiracy theory. It never happened. Watch and listen.
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure. Queen Elizabeth I was actually a man. So when she was 9 years old, she was sent off to a town called Bisley because there was a plague going on. King Henry, he hadn't seen her for many years. And so he was out on a hunting trip close to Bisley. On his way there, Queen Elizabeth got sick and died. King Henry VIII obviously had a very bad temper. And if he comes and sees that his daughter's dead, they're done. Lady Cat goes out into the village. She's looking for a girl that looks close to Queen Elizabeth. Can't find any girl. Queen Elizabeth's friend, they said a very pretty boy, red hair. They dressed him up like Queen Elizabeth. King Henry got there was no suspicion. So she became queen. If you look back, they wrote that she had no weakness of a woman, but the mind of a man. But the kicker, hundreds of years later, there's an unmarked grave. And when they excavated it, there was a little girl, the same age as when Queen Elizabeth would have died, and she was wearing royalty clothes.
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure. Queen Elizabeth.
Yep, that was fascinatingly a load of rubbish. Total crap. Here's the information that we found on that particular claim. And it reads, the theory that Queen Elizabeth I was a man, often referred to as the Bisley Boy legend, is a historical conspiracy theory that gained prominence in the 19th century. The primary evidence supporting this theory is largely anecdotal, circumstantial, and rooted in societal biases of the time, rather than concrete historical records. The core of the Bisley Boy theory posits that Elizabeth died of a fever in 1542, around her 9th birthday, while staying at Overcourt House near Bisley to avoid a plague outbreak in London. Fearing the wrath of King Henry VIII, Elizabeth's governess Lady Catherine Ashley and guardian Thomas Parry allegedly replaced the deceased princess with a red-headed boy from the village who resembled Elizabeth in appearance. This boy, sometimes named Neville, then supposedly lived out his life as Queen Elizabeth I. Several points are often cited by proponents of this theory as evidence. Elizabeth's manly qualities and intellect. Contemporaries often described Elizabeth as possessing manly qualities such as strong intellect, perseverance, and leadership abilities. Scholars like Roger Ascham noted that her mind has no womanly weaknesses and her perseverance is equal to that of a man. Proponents argue that such traits were considered unusual for a woman of her era and thus indicative of her being male. Virgin Queen status. A central pillar of the theory is Elizabeth's decision to never marry or have children. The theory suggests that if she were an impostor and a man, marriage and childbirth would have exposed the deception, thus explaining her lifelong celibacy. Physical appearance and dress. Some proponents point to Elizabeth's elaborate clothing, heavy makeup, ruffs and wigs as a means to conceal masculine features, such as an Adam's apple or facial stubble, and to keep people at a distance. However, historical accounts describe her as having a delicate and exceedingly white complexion, and low-cut bodices were not uncommon for her. Limited access to her body and no autopsy. It is claimed that Elizabeth was very protective of her body, allowing only a few trusted physicians to attend to her, and that she emphatically insisted no post-mortem to be performed after her death. This is interpreted as an attempt to prevent the discovery of her true sex. However, her request for no autopsy could also be attributed to a desire to protect her image as the Virgin Queen, or to hide any potential past sexual license or pregnancies. The discovery of a grave in Bisley. The theory gained traction in the mid-19th century when Reverend Thomas Keble, Bisley's vicar, reportedly discovered a stone coffin containing the remains of a girl in Tudor garments. during renovations at Overcourt House. This discovery was then linked to the idea of the real Elizabeth being secretly buried there. However, there is no contemporary evidence that Elizabeth was even staying in Bisley at the time of her alleged death, and the identity of the remains is unconfirmed. Bram Stoker, he's the guy that created Dracula, the story about Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, made famous. Bram Stoker's famous impostors. The author Bram Stoker, after hearing the local legend in Bisley, popularized the theory in his 1910 book Famous Impostors. Stoker drew on existing accounts of Elizabeth's masculine tendencies and even claimed a change in her handwriting between 1542 and 1543 as evidence. He also suggested the impostor was an unknown son of Mary, Howard, and Henry Fitzroy, Henry VIII's illegitimate son, due to a supposed family resemblance. Alleged secret pact. A letter from Sir Robert Torrefit in 1549 mentioning a secret promise between Lady Catherine Ashley and Thomas Parry is sometimes cited as evidence of their conspiracy. However, this letter is understood by historians to refer to an investigation into Elizabeth's alleged inappropriate behaviour with Thomas Seymour and a potential secret marriage, not a gender swap. It is important to note that these pieces of evidence are widely debunked by historians as lacking credible contemporary support and being largely products of misogynistic interpretations of Elizabeth's reign and personality. For instance, detailed records of Elizabeth's menstrual cycle exist, as foreign ambassadors inquired about her fertility for potential marriage alliances, and she was examined by doctors to ascertain her childbearing capabilities. Furthermore, Elizabeth was constantly surrounded by attendants, making a secret of this magnitude virtually impossible to keep in the gossipy Tudor court. Here's some authoritative sources. Yeah, these are probably good, reliable sources. And some other people probably ask some questions down below, or these questions asked, and so forth. So, why did we decide to create this video? Because there's so much crap out there, especially in your Christian circle, your religion. Okay, this is fact. You're being duped. Okay, they are not the original ancient, very old texts from those languages, the original languages, because those old languages are dead, long dead. Nobody speaks them anymore. Nobody writes them anymore. They're long dead, gone the way of the dinosaur. So what you've got today is modern Americanized translations, or modern translations, stemming from the old church monks, Roman Catholic church monks, scribes, etc., like Martin Luther, Tinsdale, Wycliffe, etc. Those Protestants. Okay? The Protestants were a group that broke away later on. So these people we refer to as Protestants. Okay? There's a difference here, to indicate a difference here. They protested to the Roman Catholic Church and said, well, this is bad. You need some reform here. You need a reformation, change things because of this and that, whatever they saw. Yeah. So they got persecution for that. So what do? They run away somewhere else, in secret, in safety, and translate, like Martin Luther translates from the Latin into German and Tinsdale into Old English, and so forth. So you're getting all of this, all these translations from the Roman Catholic Church through the American Bible Society and societies similar, right? That's where you're getting it from. So all your modern translations come from there. If you don't believe us, well, we could always provide this video by a guy who called himself Brian the Barbarian. He's changed his name of late, and he can verify you that in one column on the left, it's all Roman Catholic. It's all coming from the Roman Catholic. So this is why this particular YouTube channel that we have exposes all of that. Somebody said, oh, you're being really judgmental, all this sort of stuff. Even this character AI said that. We said, no, there's a difference in judging, being judgmental, and etc., etc., according to the scriptures, right? And it just went totally mad at us, right? But that's how they're written. It just went totally mad, right? It says, look, do you not understand, the difference, the different definitions, and what Christ was referring to as judging without merit? If you're guilty of the same sin, stop pointing the finger, sort of thing. Okay, so that's what we do to help you realize that you're being duped. You're being suckered. You've been given these false interpretations. That's why we present you the original, ancient, very old Tav Asherit, Lishana Artika, or sacred scribal language that God spoke to Adam and Eve with in the garden, Garden of Eden, or paradise. And this is called the Lishana Artika Sapraya. It's the sacred scribal language of God, or the Old Tongue. The manuscripts were hand copied by monks and scribes in Urhai, Edessa, now modern Turkey, around 800 to 900 BCE, or BC. And then we also bring the Galilean Aramaic manuscripts, New Testament, that were hidden, therefore preserved for over 2,000 years by the original Apostolic Church of the East, which was destroyed in the 13th century, but restored sometime after that. So today you have the restored Apostolic Orthodox Church of the East, who have these in their possession. It was exclusively, these manuscripts were exclusively for Syrians, because the old form of language was dead, long dead. So what they do is they speak to these people through a liturgy. So these people understand it, so it's exclusively for them. There was a head patriarchate, Ma Isai Shamun, in 1957. What's his name? Andrew Gabriel Roth did have on his website, the AramaicsScriptures.com, this quote from him, that when these texts that of what Jesus said, what he did, etc., somebody had written it down amongst the 12 disciples, right? Handed it over. Okay, ever since then, it's never been tampered with, translated, or anything like that. But this Victor E. Alexander, a translator from Mesopotamia, he's a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Mesopotamia, Syria, or Bet Narain, Syria. He got hold of them through a priest that he met. He bought a Bible format copy of him because he told him, what you're translating at the time, Victor, is actually incorrect. Okay, that's a Greek Septuagint translated into the Syrian. We don't use that, right? So he goes, okay, he got off depressed for a year, and he continued his work, because he'd just done Matthew, Mark, Luke, was going to work on John, and he was told, that's actually from the Greek Septuagint, translated, it's a Greek Septuagint, or LXX, translated into Syriac, into the Syrian. So what he's done is, without the prejudice, the bias, the common traits of translators, is to make it his mission to translate it and bring it to all in the nearest English equivalent. So that's what our YouTube channel, where this video is all about. We're opening your eyes to see what the Christ actually said, what he did, and what he taught to the disciples, who then taught to others, because that was their mission. He said before he ascended to God, sit at the right hand of the Father, right, in heaven, kingdom of heaven. Okay, you must go into the world and preach the gospel. So that's what they did. Okay, some like Thomas went to India, Persia apparently, China, maybe even Japan. Peter went somewhere else. Maybe he was in Damascus, something like that, Constantinople, preaching to those people there, and he ends up getting martyred at Rome, and when he goes there, and the others ended up being martyred as well. The only one that survived and lived to a real old age, probably about 100, is John, because he was he was exiled on Patmos. So we're trying to make you aware of what we've studied Right? We looked at the facts, the claimed facts. We've established the facts as fact. So they synchronize. 3 different people from 3 different time periods that all say the same thing. So that's an established fact, right? And then we're looking at the evidence to find. We're trying to find the evidence. We try to find the evidence that proves itself evident. That there's no interjection, no middleman messing around for it, right? Okay? And then we're looking at these people who make these claims, like old scribes, the old authors, the disciples, whatever, to see if they're irrefutable or infallible, right? Irrefutable and infallible. Okay, so then that should deem their writings as irrefutable or infallible, and any other writer, whether it was ancient or modern. Okay, say like, use an example here, your latest preacher, evangelist. Okay, because he looked at, is it W.H. Armstrong, and found with using investigative journalism techniques that he had something that he was supposed to go up on charges for, but he died. Okay, unfortunately he died, and so forth. So that's what we do, and that's what we bring to you. So check out our videos on this particular channel where you see this video, and give us a like for this one. Yeah, give us a like, subscribe, add your comments below the video, and then go share this with all you know, your church friends, family, neighbours, those you preach to on the street. Yeah. Have a look at our channel and see that we are bringing you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No hype, no fluff. Why? Because honesty is our best policy, and we believe in old-time chivalry. Yeah, chivalry, where a man's honour is his honour, so he should be honourable by honouring it. We don't deal in hype, fluff, or any other rubbish like that. That's not what we're about as a ministry. So again, if you like this video, you like that idea about our channel, please give us a like, subscribe, add your comments below the video, and then go share this and the rest of our videos with everybody you know.